I thought it's going on this today.
All
Dropping
right,
the
we're up.
ocean.
What happened?
We're up. All right, good morning, Lagos. It is 7:30 right now. You're listening to Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. I am Khadija Oduni.
And I am Valentine, and I love the energy.
Okay, Lagos. Right now, this is well one of the juicy parts of the show, right? And we've got our analysts ready to, dissect and ready to go into the stories we have for you this morning. Of course, you could be a part of the show as well. We'd love to hear from you. Remember to get in touch with us on Twitter. We are at Smooth981. And please remember to use the hashtag FreshlyPressed981. Also, we look forward to your messages on WhatsApp with the number 0809 444 And you can definitely catch this live on YouTube. Just go on there and search for Smooth981. So we're going right into introducing our analysts this morning. We have Fumi Odude, who is in here with us. It's been a while I've seen you, Fumi.
Yes, Khadija. Welcome back to Morning Radio.
Well, thank you
Yes.
very much. Valentine, it's not going to last for a long time. Don't get too excited.
Good morning, Lagos.
And we also have Ugo Dre in the studio with us this morning,
Hey, morning, Lagos. Good to be here.
as well as Adinike Oyetunde.
Good morning and happy Thanksgiving to the people who recognize
Hey, our gendered people, Yankee people.
The NJGBs are coming back before flights get expensive. Let's get into this first story from Premium Times, and this one's for you, Ugo. Crisis rocks Nigeria's investment agency over anti-Buhari statements, comments, internal wrangling. The conversation really involves Yewande Sadiku, who's the executive secretary of the commission. That's the Nigeria Investment Promotion Council, and we have some other people on the floor of the Senate. Actually, the whole squabble is because Mr. Sadiku was quoted as saying once that when she was making a statement comparing the present administration to the administration of President Olusegun Obasanjo in terms of inviting investment, foreign direct investment for Nigeria. Your thoughts on this?
I read this story and I kind of shook. I'm like, now, wow. So it's like I'm beginning to think that we have this, there's some elements in the government that sort of think we have a kind of deep state. This deep state, what Trump usually says about people in government who typically don't support or who are against his own policies. So he calls them deep state. So they're there working against him. They're working for the government but against him. So it's that kind of scenario that's probably playing now. So you have a scenario where there are government officials who are 100% loyal to the president, even if internally they don't agree with his policies. Now, if you now find one element or one person who still works with the government, but sort of like has an independent opinion, they just think like you're against, Buhari and
Yeah,
you're
the
probably a
opposition.
member of the deep state. So in this particular story, which is quite shocking, in case you don't know who Yewande Sadiku is, she used to be an executive director at Stanbic, and she was, highly revered, respectable lady, and she was one of those people who joined, the Buhari administration back then, and we're very glad that okay, yes, finally we're seeing solid private sector people get into the public sector to try and change things. And she was also going to an agency that was very critical to Nigerian economy because we wanted to attract foreign investors. So now the accusation now is that she had been collecting some allowances that she shouldn't be collecting, and this accusation is coming from Babangida Groje, who is I think the chairman of the governing council of the NIPC.
And a former deputy speaker
Probably
of the
the
House of
speaker,
Reps.
yeah. So they're having a very frustrated relationship. Who probably is a staunch member of Buhari, of the president, and he's saying that she was getting 40 million in the name of foreign leave allowances. Of course, she kicked back and said, "Look, this is something that others have been enjoying, and it's nothing illegal." So
But the 40 million in allowances is in annual.
annual, yeah, it's annual,
Cumulative.
exactly. So it's not illegal. And if you now track back to why all these accusations are coming in, because that's what's happening, you realize that because of that statement she made, I think she was recorded right, saying that President Buhari wasn't pushing as much as Obasanjo was pushing during his own tenure, and it would be hard to disagree with that because Obasanjo, we all knew how vocal he was with getting people to want to invest in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Buhari just follows a different style, a different pattern, it's a different kind of personality. So they use that and they're saying that look, she's been criticizing the government, and then the one that annoyed them the most is there's this very popular program in Abuja. I listen to it sometimes when I'm in town, and they were basically castigating staff of the NIPC, for corruption and all that, and then single her out as the only angel there, the only person who is not corrupt. So of course that now annoyed staff of the NIPC. So everybody's kind of like ganging up against her. And I know how these things pans out sometimes because we've seen it happen a few times when you have solid private sector people get into government and don't want to dance to their tune. At some point in time, something gives. Either they get pushed out or they just end up resigning. I wouldn't be surprised if she leaves this council.
Which will be quite unfortunate because it kind of reads as though there's a constant effort to shut down people who are vocal about their true thoughts or their true impression of the government. I mean, if you speak against the government, it's not necessarily a sin. But if you speak against the government in a constructive way, just to give suggestions as to where things should be done right and where problems could lie, she has everything to lose, doesn't she? In this kind of conversation.
Yeah, you see, and that's the problem with this recording thing. Like these days, you can't even talk again. Like you don't even know. I mean, like you're with somebody, you don't know whether the person is recording on your phone or on the pen or something. So, and for all you know, I mean, not like I'm trying to stand in for her, but for all you know, just honest conversation. I mean, you gotta have your own personal opinion, shouldn't you? You know what I mean? So, and this is not the first. I think there was one time they caught Amici on tape as well.
Yes.
So there are people who have clear reservations with some of the policies of the president, and I think it's okay to criticize or to be against. Doesn't mean you don't support him in other areas. And I think that she's somebody who, if she doesn't also support the entire agenda of the president, she probably may have left as well. So I don't know. This is just power play.
Interesting story there.
Unfortunately, it's not good for us.
We have messages on WhatsApp 0809 444 Please keep them coming. Also Twitter at Smooth981FM, hashtag FreshlyPress981. USSD is in the conversation right now. We have the banks, or rather the telcos, threatening to disconnect banks, saying that most of them haven't paid them for the service. Ugo Dre.
I thought that they had sorted this out when the minister said, banks didn't need to, or telcos shouldn't even charge customers for this service. Unfortunately, the association, that's the telcos cabal, like I would like to call them, are saying that look, it's not gonna work and it doesn't make any sense. And in a way, I kind of support him because he's like, look, why do I have to bear the cost for USSD? And so you want to maybe take a loan from a bank or you want to make a transfer to somebody else and you access the USSD. And from what I understand, I think it's every 20 seconds or so that they bill. So every 20 seconds you need the bill. So depending on how fast you are. So so you do that, you close a transaction, and then some of this USSD also comes with a link where if you click on it as well, you can continue to transact on the bank's portal or platform or whatever. And then whatever transaction you do, whether you're withdrawing money or you're transferring money or you're getting a loan, it's in favor of the bank. So they're saying they don't get anything out of it. So they just bear that cost. And why should it be for free? And you know what? I mean, this might be unpopular, but I kind of agree with them. Somebody has got to pay for it. And at the end of the day, it might be the consumer. Because at some point, banks are going to say, look, the USSD portal or mobile banking are all convenience. It's all about convenience. Of course, it's cashless payment and e-banking, but it's all about convenience. Because if you get up from your house and go to the bank to do this, you would incur some cost, right? So it's all convenience, and there's got to be a price for convenience. So it's either we get to a situation where there's so much competition, and then some banks will say, okay, you know what, it's going to be free on my platform because I want to have people come in, right? Or some will say, look, I can't just bear that cost. I have to continue charging that cost until I can break even. So, personally, I think the government should just step out of this. It's a free market that we're in, and then people should be able to charge, costs that are reflective of prices that are reflective of their cost.
Yes.
That's my own belief.
Ugodre, thank you very much for your analysis. Although I have a few concerns. First, I understand that the NCC has oversight function and is a regulatory body
Yes.
over these activities. But should they charge? How are the charges evaluated? Because I understand that from your analysis, it seems as if it's dandy, it's nice and dandy, and the service is never interrupted. But we know there are a lot of interrupted transactions that are carried out on USSD. Are those charges going to be like? Are they remitted to the banks to pay, or is it left for the consumer?
So exactly. So that's where they should focus on. So the issue here is not whether they should charge. I think they should charge. It's now what do you charge and what is commensurate to the service that you're given, and then how do you refund, consumers or maybe the banks if some of these transactions don't terminate? Because I've tried a few times. You're trying to do USSD and then it just goes off.
Yes.
So you probably would or if you even delay for like 3 seconds, your screen just goes off. You have to start all over again, right? So who bears those costs? That's what they need to figure out, and not just interfere in market processes.
Thank you, bro. Let's come to you, Adenike, for this story. Judiciary has been blamed for prison congestion. The statement was, credited to, the Nigerian Correctional Service from this story. Said it blamed the judiciary for the congestion of the custodian service of its custodian facility, normally referred to as prison yards in the country. It's interesting that they called it a new name.
Yeah.
A few reasons were given for this. Can you take us through the story, please?
Okay, so he mentioned that is the Controller General of the service explained that his office could only address a fraction of the issue of congestion due to the complex nature of bureaucracy surrounding all the matters when it comes to judiciary, prison, or correctional facilities, as the case may be. He said for him, another act that is necessary for the judiciary to be quick in its justice
delivery.
Exactly. And that the service cannot be blamed for keeping inmates who keep piling up by the day in its facilities. I find it very interesting because earlier in the year, or sometime a few months ago, the president, a new law was signed, and one of the powers that the controller now has is the power to reject intake of prisoners once they know that the facilities have been overshot. And between you and I, the question is, when last did any one of us hear that a new prison facility, correctional facility, was built? If you look back, the Kirikiri was built in 55, and I can bet that the most that has been done has just been adding 1 or 2 facilities. Nothing drastic has ever happened. The controller is also saying that there are few improvements and buildings that are going on across the different prisons in the country. There are 250 of them, and we have well over 70,000 prisoners when the facility is supposed to accommodate about 50,000. Now, it's interesting to me because one of the stories I read was a story of a young man who was released after 13 years, and it was the Supreme Court that released him. The facility where he was kept had well over 4,000. And that facility was supposed to only house between 800 and 1,000. So yes, I get what the Controller General is saying, and I feel like a few things that he failed to talk about, which is not actually in his line of duty, is how judiciary is going to expedite justice. And I don't know why it's taking so long for us to deploy technology when it comes to these things, database, because the reality about it is, it took a long time for us to not understand why we still had a lot of stenographers and why they were still writing in longhand, for instance. But if that's the system we want to do, okay, then maybe we have to find a way around it. Justices will not trust that people would write verbatim what they want to write, but it's taking so much time. And the Controller General, I'm not sure, and I'm hoping that he understands that he has the power to actually refuse them to take in more prisoners. So maybe if they start bringing new prisoners and they start to reject them and put them somewhere, maybe we'll now understand that more has to be done. So technology, the database, we need more prisoners, we need more justices, more prisons, I beg your pardon. We need more prisons or correctional facilities, as the case may be, because between you and I, we know that if we're going to ever make this country work, there will have to come a day when some people would actually damn the consequences and throw a lot of people in these facilities. We do not have the facilities to throw this.
Well, now that you say it, I'll step in here to say that that's already been happening for a long time. A lot of people are incarcerated without any process. They're
no,
not taken
not
to court.
not
They are not heard.
not
You
those kind
find,
of
sorry,
cases.
you find but these people are sent to prison. They're not sent to our
Absolutely,
houses.
absolutely. No, and I mentioned that earlier.
Mm.
A lot of the people that are kept there, one of the reasons that the cases are being stored that they're kept there is because of database. Nobody keeps information. You find someone who has been kept incarcerated for 10 years and his matter has not gone beyond mention.
Mm.
And the question is, whose responsibility is it to do? They are understaffed. We need new personnel. The Ministry of Justice across the states need more hands.
Mm.
And we keep failing to address that and expect that the lawyers, these prosecutors, or whatever it is, whether they're whatever
Or
capacity
even
that,
the judiciary.
yeah. And I feel very strongly that we need to understand that we need to hire more justices across this country. Otherwise, people are going to just stay there for so long. And this is not a problem that is peculiar to Nigeria. If you follow Sean King on social media, for instance, they've been talking about 1, 2, 3 cases in the last 1 month about people who have been wrongly incarcerated in the US. And you wonder if they're having this type of issue in the US.
Of course.
What will then happen? What's the reflection on us?
There are two. So the wrongly incarcerated bit is one arm of it. But in our prisons, majority of our prisoners are awaiting trial, which means that they've not even been found guilty.
Yep.
That's why it's the entire criminal justice system. This thing of there are people that have waited months just waiting for DPP's advice. So the police arrest you for a criminal offense. Half the time, and majority of the indigent ones can't make their bail conditions.
Yep.
So they're taken before a magistrate who gives them bail on paper, but they can't find sureties. For some reasons, they can't make their bail conditions, so they are kept there. And then the file is sent to the Ministry of Justice for the Director of Public Prosecution's advice, which basically means they're supposed to review all the evidence gathered by the police so far and determine if there is a good case or there is none. That advice for some cases could take like forever. And so the guy, you bring him back to court and the prosecutor will say, we're still awaiting the DPP's advice, and he's returned, and he's returned. And maybe one day he misses court, and, things slip here and there. And that is, so it's the entire criminal justice system process that has to be reformed. And if you're going to reform anything, a lot of it has to do with cost and financing.
A lot of money.
Hiring new people, deploying technology, and all of that. A lot of it has to do with cost and
And even
finance.
sanitizing the prison system, because this overpopulation is being taken advantage of.
In conclusion, I do not want, I hear what the Controller General is saying, but I also do not want him to pass the buck, because also the Nigeria Correctional Services has a lot to do with this whole delay of justice as well.
Thank you, Adenike and Fumi. Let's go to your messages, please.
All right, we have Okosin Dennis from Aja who says, "Hi crew, I absolutely agree with correctional services that judiciary are responsible for prison congestions. Why can't the judiciary decide some cases expeditiously with the way they handled Bayelsa State's APC governorship candidate's appeal against an Abuja judgment? Shameful to note that judiciary is unnecessarily adjourning cases that could have been trashed in a matter of days." We have this one here by Dami, who says, "Yewande is one of the bright minds in this government. I know how much work she is doing at the NIPC and the backlash from those who want business as usual. When you speak to investors daily in Nigeria and hear their frustrations about Buhari's anti-business policies, it's difficult to keep your cool at all times, but that doesn't make her an enemy. This is corruption fighting the few exceptional ones in this corrupt government. Remember the attacks against the Emikale of NBS too. Guess what? These are highly competent guys who have a life outside government and cannot be intimidated."
Because one of the statements Yewande made was in Obasanjo's time, when the investors come in and start business, and they complain. The analogy she gave was, if they complain a mosquito is biting them, he will rush and kill the mosquito.
We have another one in here by Adiola who says, "Our country is one big joke. You hear the government saying they want to cashless policy, a cashless society, and all sorts of charges pop up, card maintenance, etc. Everything they are doing, to me, it discourages what they want to do, and it's the same with all other things they come up with."
All right, Daily Times has the next report we're going to go. Senate wants states to dedicate funds for border communities. This is in line with an act that they still want the states to follow through. There's an act that was set up actually that provides for the Border Community Development Agency. Please take us through this story. We'll go.
Yeah, well, we all know what people who live in the borders are facing, going through. It's unimaginable if you're on this side to really understand or to comprehend the kind of suffering that is taking place there, just across, and just not just in the north, just all the bordering, communities, border state communities, or in Nigeria. But what I don't really want here is, you looking for new ways, to fund it, and then you want to fund it from the same government that doesn't have money. So I really don't know how this will work. And then according to him, he says that he wants 1.5% of consolidated revenue fund and 30% of ecological funds. So consolidated revenue fund is government's federal government's money. So you want a whole 1.5% of it.
So it's Senator Sadiq Suleiman.
Yes, exactly. So my own issue is that I don't have a problem with providing funding for these guys, because they don't deserve the level of suffering that they are getting. But the funding that has been provided in the past, because there's actually an act set up here, who is accountable, or who is accounting for those funds? Because what typically happens, just like we did with our brothers in the creeks, we set up all these agencies for people to just rip us off, and for people to just make money, and the money never actually goes to the people who need it. So that's my own approach. Start by auditing, by looking at holding accountable the monies that you've actually set aside since 2003.
Exactly.
From how this act, before you start to look for new funds.
Thank you, Hugo.
All right, so going on to our next story right now, the Integrated Personnel Payroll Information System, federal government says lecturers enrolling despite ASU's opposition. Now, the federal government has received the nominal role of about 41 universities as part of moves to capture university workers into the IPPIS. The coordinator of the IPPIS in the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Mr. Olusegun Olufeyinti, confirmed the figure, and he said the federal government was determined to ensure that all its employees are captured on the IPPIS platform. So, Fumi Odute, I'm coming to you with this story. What do you make of this one?
Well, so it's simple. People want their salaries. Always December. So exactly. So, and then especially when you think about the fact that ASU's reason for rejecting the system has, for a lot of people, have not been cogent enough. And then, so if the federal government is saying we will not pay you except through the system, and the lecturers that feel like I have December obligations, I would enroll. So yes, I think basically that's what's happening here.
Oh, by the way, ASU, in a new development, they're asking the federal government to give them permission to create their own IPPIS.
And then the
Are they joking?
Because there is a part in the story where the federal government is like, we are employing people, not unions.
Yes, that's the part I wanted to get to. The part where the representative, I was trying to look for his name, said we are employed individuals,
not unions.
And so far, what the process that has been going on right now is just biometric. So you go and give your biometric data, and I don't know what.
But could the worry be that because they don't really have a lot of people in there, because they're saying those people who have been enrolled will be the ones who will get paid. So could the worry be because most times with government systems, when they get enrolled into some certain biometrics and things like that, number one, it takes a while for that process to go on. Number two, sometimes they don't even get paid for that month where the whole biometric system is going on at the same time, so they now have to pay them later, 2 months or 3 months later. Could that also be a concern for them?
I'm not sure that's their concern. I think their concern is the fact that for a lot of them, they get paid in more than one place. So now that you're one person, you're going to be recognized as such, as one. They can't have those.
You can't
you can't get those double payments and all. But then you also have to realize that this is part of the whole reform, public finance reform initiative of the federal government.
We all cry for.
Exactly, we're all crying for it. We want to know the definite number of lecturers that we have that we're paying. We want to fish out ghost workers. So this is part of the initiative and reform that we want.
All right. So we'll go on to the next one then.
Ekamode Olatunji on YouTube says, clearly we had it. with Saraki as the head of National Assembly, people worked against his government internally.
Deep state.
All right, so our next story. Nigeria Immigration Service, 17,616 Nigerians deported in 2018. So, yes, 17,616 Nigerians were brought back to Nigeria in 2018. Also, according to this story, 22,889 foreign nationals were denied entry into Nigeria for various reasons, even as 1,044 Nigerians were blocked from traveling overseas in the same year. There's also for statistics for people who got repatriated and the likes. So Adenike, we're going to come to you with this story. What do you think about this story?
I want to know if they ever give reasons as to why they refuse people entry visas into Nigeria.
A lot of people tend to complain it's
Yeah.
difficult to
Very
get a
difficult
visa
to
to
get,
come into
exactly.
Nigeria.
My cousin is Nigerian by distance, but had never visited Nigeria all his life until 3 years ago. So, and I remember the hassle to get the visa to come back home. So I want to know if I can maybe go on their website and see. I don't know. I just want to know that people have not just abused power arbitrarily. It's just stats. They gave us stats, and I think that you never realize how dire there's a need for certain things until you see it. To realize that we have just 5 international airports in Nigeria, I was like, oh wow, don't we need more?
Yeah.
So yeah, basically just talked about for people, refugees that returned home, the number of people that the federal government granted asylum to, and the applications that were received, the traffic at the border. They say 4,529,158 travelers crossed our borders, and I'm sure that that's not an accurate number, but there's no contrary evidence to prove otherwise. So yeah, it's just stats to make us know that NIS is working. So,
Well, there's a message I got yesterday on Twitter. I couldn't reply to that message because I was hoping that this conversation will come up, and gratefully it did. She sent in this message. Let me see if I can find her name. VJ Odale. She said, well, hello, Valentine. I need your help with the NIS on change of data. The station discussed it months ago, but the fraudulent activities going on there, I need help. They're asking for 300 naira. Is being divorced a crime in Nigeria? So I understand that, trying to understand the context of her message, as if she had issues, trying to enroll and get a change of data based on the fact that she had her name. So
I got mine on Monday, and I can tell you that it's a hassle.
How long did it take you?
To be very honest, this is one experience that disability paid off. I'll be very frank with you. Going there and then they go, oh, let her come. I'm like, okay. It was even still a hassle, and the people there, and it's a business cartel. I'm not going to disclose where I did it.
Immigrations.
To get the NIN. So yes. I feel like there is more. I saw mothers with toddlers. They hassle to change names. They hassle to, and it takes 3 months. You write the application for you to alter the sections that you want to change. And the woman told the guy they're feeling to say it takes nothing less than 3 months for them to get back to you. So, we need to look into that.
I'm wondering how much exactly that costs. Changing your name.
Yeah, the official rate will still be what you have to pay to prove that you've started the process officially. But then access to getting there, I will be honest with you, people are paying money to fast track their process.
Okay.
Anything to get it done real quick. We have this story here. 120,000 Lagosians living with HIV/AIDS, says UNAIDS. Now, the country director of the Joint United Nations Program on HIV and AIDS, Dr. Erasmus Mora, has said that no fewer than 120,000 Lagosians were living with HIV, while 60,000 were yet to show up for treatment. So now this story, for me, this one is for you.
Say well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 60,000 that they realized are actually infected, but they haven't come forward.
Well, some of them don't even know, according to the story.
Okay.
So I kind of feel like, because we keep talking about these things, is it?
Well, that's the thing. There's this thing that happens in this country where we have a high peak of aggressive publicity over an issue when it's raw, and then it completely dies afterwards. If UNAIDS wasn't doing this, I don't know if we would have any data from our health. We sort of leave these issues to NGOs and international aid organizations to do. But let me quickly touch on what the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Sanwo-Olu said. He spoke about using aggressive publicity campaign and then public health centers. I'm not sure we realize the importance of having very good public health centers.
Very good public health
Yes,
centers.
that's
Key word.
I can say that for Lagos, I know that a lot of people get immunization from their children at public health centers. They give them days, I think Tuesdays, Thursdays, and stuff. And that is why we have a lot of indigent people having their children immunized. But think about how many people do general checkups or just, I mean, if I go on Denike needs to go, we know private labs to go to, but the usual indigent people, is there access to a place where they say, okay, at the beginning of every year, every 6 months, I'll go and do a complete checkup, HIV, diabetes, my blood pressure and stuff, hepatitis, and I don't have to pay so much for it. And that is the importance of having good and active public health centers where they can get the test, they can get education on what to do in the event that it does. I mean, half the time we only do this test when we want to apply for something and it's a requirement or something.
And
that's the importance of having very
like you mentioned, even for the immunizations, they don't even have all of the immunizations at the end of the day. But thank you guys so much for being a part of the show this morning. This is where we'd have to, put a stop to Freshly Pressed today. But thank you, Adenike Oyintunde, for joining us today. That is at Adenike Oyintunde on Twitter and Instagram, I believe.
Yes. Thank you.
And of course, Ugodre as well, at Ugodre. And of course, Fumi Odude at Fumi Odude. All right, so that will be all right now. Stick around. We'll also come back soon for
The Grapevine 91.
Right.